What is SD-WAN and why are so many organizations replacing traditional WAN designs with it? Traditional WANs were designed around private circuits, fixed paths, and centralized internet access. But today's applications are in the cloud, users are everywhere, and organizations may have several different types of WAN connectivity. In this video, which is the first video in a new series on SD-WAN, we'll explain what SD-WAN is, the problems it solves, and how it changes the way a WAN is managed. SD-WAN is one of those technologies that many network engineers have heard about, but it's not always explained clearly. Sometimes it's presented as a replacement for MPLS, sometimes it's presented as a type of VPN, sometimes it's presented as a cloud or security solution, and sometimes it's surrounded by so much vendor terminology that the basic idea becomes difficult to see. So in this series, our goal is to explain SD-WAN step by step in a clear and practical way. We will take a mostly vendor-neutral approach, which means that we will first focus on the concepts. At the same time, we'll use Cisco SD-WAN examples where they are useful, because many network engineers encounter Cisco SD-WAN in real networks, in certification studies, as well as in enterprise environments. So you will hear Cisco terms like vManage, vSmart, vBond, WAN Edge routers, OMP, TLOCs, colors, VPNs, VRFs, and centralized policies. But the main goal is not just to memorize vendor terms. The main goal is to understand how SD-WAN works. So what is SD-WAN? SD-WAN stands for Software-Defined Wide Area Network. The WAN, or the Wide Area Network, is the part of the network that connects multiple geographically remote locations together. For example, it may connect branch offices to a data center, remote sites to the headquarters, users to cloud services, or different company locations to each other. Traditionally, many enterprise WANs were built using private circuits, especially MPLS. These designs often worked very well. They provided reliable connectivity, predictable behavior, and strong control over the enterprise network. But the way businesses use the network has changed. In the past, many users worked in branch offices and accessed applications that were hosted in the company data center. So it made sense to send most traffic from the branch to the data center. But today, many applications are no longer only in the data center. They may be distributed in public cloud platforms, SaaS services, or external application environments. Users may need to access Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, Salesforce, cloud-hosted applications, voice and video services, and many other internet-based services, which all exist in different places. At the same time, branches may have more than one type of WAN connection. They may have MPLS, copper-based broadband internet like cable or DSL, fiber internet, 4G or 5G connections, or other transport options. Now, all of this creates a new question. How can we use all these different connections intelligently, securely, and efficiently? And that is where SD-WAN comes in. At a high level, SD-WAN creates a secure overlay network over one or more underlay transport networks. Now, the terms overlay and underlay are fundamental to SD-WAN operation and understanding. The underlay is the real connectivity that exists underneath. This could be MPLS, broadband internet, LTE, 5G, or other transport technologies. The overlay is the logical SD-WAN fabric that is built on top of these physical transports. This overlay can use encrypted tunnels, centralized control, and policy-based decisions to connect sites together in a more flexible way. So instead of thinking only in terms of individual circuits and individual routers, SD-WAN allows us to think in terms of a managed WAN fabric. This fabric can be controlled centrally, and this is one of the most important ideas in SD-WAN. In traditional WAN designs, each router is usually configured and controlled individually. Of course, we can use templates, automation, and management systems, but the network logic is still distributed across many devices. In SD-WAN, however, a central management and control system can define policies for the entire WAN. For example, we can define which applications should prefer MPLS, which applications can use broadband internet, which traffic should go directly to the internet, which traffic should go through a security service, and which sites are allowed to communicate with each other. This does not mean that all user traffic passes through some central controller. No, that is a common misunderstanding. The controller only deals with control plane traffic, that is, traffic that is used to instruct the various parts of the SD-WAN infrastructure to behave in a particular way and to treat traffic in a particular way based on specific policies. In most SD-WAN designs, the actual data traffic still flows between the edge devices, such as branch routers, data center routers, or cloud gateways. The controllers help manage the fabric itself. They distribute information and apply policies, but the data plane or the user plane forwarding itself happens at the edge devices. Now, another important idea is application-aware routing. Traditional routing usually makes forwarding decisions based on network information, such as prefixes, metrics, administrative distances, next hops, or routing protocol behavior. But SD-WAN adds another layer of intelligence. It can consider the type of application and the quality of the available paths. For example, voice traffic needs low latency, low jitter, and low packet loss. A file transfer, however, is not as sensitive to these phenomena. Business-critical applications may need preferred treatment. Guest internet traffic may need to be handled differently from corporate traffic. So SD-WAN can make decisions based not only on where the destination is, but also on what the application being served needs and how well each path is performing. And this is one of the reasons SD-WAN became so popular, because it gives organizations a way to use multiple WAN links more intelligently and efficiently. For example, instead of having an expensive MPLS circuit active and a cheaper internet circuit used only as a backup, SD-WAN can allow both links to be used actively, depending on configured policies and detected performance. Critical applications can be set to prefer the MPLS path, while less sensitive applications may use the cheaper internet path. Now, of course, SD-WAN does not remove the need to understand networking fundamentals, and this is a very important point. SD-WAN does not make routing disappear. It does not make IPsec disappear. It does not make QoS disappear. It does not make troubleshooting disappear. And it does not magically fix a bad internet connection. If an underlay link has packet loss, latency, jitter, congestion, or instability, the SD-WAN overlay still depends on that underlay. SD-WAN may detect the problem and choose a better path if one exists, but it cannot create good connectivity from a bad physical or transport network. So throughout this series, we will keep coming back to this simple idea. SD-WAN is powerful, but networking fundamentals still matter. Now, because we will be using Cisco SD-WAN examples throughout the series, let's briefly introduce some of the Cisco terms you will hear. In Cisco SD-WAN, vManage, which is now often referred to as Cisco SD-WAN Manager, is used for management, configuration, monitoring, and policy creation. vSmart, or the Cisco SD-WAN Controller, is part of the control plane. It helps distribute routing and policy information across the fabric. vBond, also known as the validator, helps with the initial orchestration and onboarding of devices into the fabric. The WAN Edge routers are the devices that actually sit at the branch, data center, cloud, or other network edge locations, and they forward traffic. OMP, or Overlay Management Protocol, is an important Cisco SD-WAN control protocol used to exchange routing, transport, and policy-related information. TLOCs, or transport locators, help identify the transport attachment points used by WAN Edge routers to build the overlay. Now, don't worry if these terms are not fully clear at this point. At this stage, the goal is only to introduce them. We will explain them properly as the series progresses. Now, in this series, we will start from the very beginning. First, we will look at why SD-WAN exists and what problems it was created to solve. Then we'll explain what SDN actually is and how it differs from traditional WAN designs, VPNs, and simple internet failover. We will also spend time on the difference between the underlay and the overlay, because that is one of the keys to understanding SD-WAN. Then we'll look at SD-WAN architecture, including the management plane, control plane, orchestration plane, and data plane. And we will also see how SD-WAN devices join the fabric, how tunnels are built, how routing works, and why routing still matters. We will also explain Cisco OMP, application-aware routing, centralized policies, and segmentation using VRFs and VPNs. And finally, we will also discuss internet access, SaaS operations security, SaaS QoS troubleshooting, real-world design, and the skills network engineers need in order to work with SD-WAN effectively. So the purpose of this first video is simple. I want you to get the big picture before we go deeper. Now remember, SD-WAN is not just one product. It's not just a VPN. It's not simply a replacement for MPLS. And indeed, it is not magic. SD-WAN is a modern way of building and controlling the WAN using centralized management, secure overlays, multiple transports, application-aware decisions, segmentation, and policies. And when it is designed well, it can make the WAN more flexible, more efficient, and better aligned with the way modern applications and users actually work. So now you have a clear understanding of what SD-WAN is, why it was introduced, and the main problems it is designed to solve. In the next video, we will look more closely at why SD-WAN exists. We'll compare the traditional WAN models with the modern cloud-first networking model, and we will also see why enterprises need this different approach. Subscribe to the TelecomTech channel and enable notifications so that you can follow the complete series and be informed of every new video. I'm Lazarus at TelecomTech, where telecom and networking are simply explained. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'd like to thank you for watching.